What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol DVAX for Dynavax Technologies. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first, this will, of course, be an update. You can see some of our prior levels are actually holding up quite nicely here, which is fantastic to see. Just pretty much confirms that the stock does want to trade based on some technicals, right? From the daily perspective, certainly a very interesting candle here. Huge inverted hammer. There was a run higher, obviously resisting right at that level we had mapped out, 1518, and closing relatively weak. But before we get ahead of ourselves, before we get overly bearish about the structure of what's going on here, I do want to point out from the daily time frame that we are starting to get a little bit of a support trend line, something that would look like that. You can certainly see it translated here on the 30-minute as well. Very, very prominent with these higher lows and pretty much equal highs up here. Now, what I've essentially just drawn in is a really large ascending triangle, which is technically a bullish pattern. Now, of course, yes, we are on a bit of a short-term downtrend here on the daily, so we want to be careful that this doesn't turn into a bearish pennant, right? Something that would look like this, then break down here. But if it were to take out these highs at and around 1518, and we can get some solid volume to push us higher, we are looking at a breakout into about 1576, and then from there, we know that that's really the larger range to be trading for, from 1576 up to about 1734, that next area of daily resistance from in here. So that's the upside case if it wants to respect the support trend line and if it wants to continually produce higher lows. If that's not the case, we really need to focus in on the 30-minute time frame and look for some targets underneath us, right? We're not going to assume that the trend line is going to break immediately, but if we do sort of break down underneath this 1424, which as of right now looks like it could potentially be likely, then the next major area of support I would watch out for would be right around here at 1365. Now, depending on when this ultimately happens, then yeah, sure, it could be over the course of time here a breakdown of the support trend line. But if it happens before then, so immediately, like right out of the gates on tomorrow's session and holds, then fine. It's not the end of the world here inside of Dynavax, right? So that's really what I'm seeing from the 30-minute, from the daily. If we were to go lower than that and really start violating that support trend line, just continually walk down these targets. The next set of higher lows would be closer to here at 1308, 1310, if you like nice round numbers. Then, of course, the low of the entire thing, which would be here at 1260, right? So those are the downside targets if it starts breaking down. Certainly the structure from the intraday would suggest that buyers weren't really too strong up around 1518. So downside may be more likely, but don't write off the power of the breakout if it does happen to cross and accept up and over 1518. So last thing we'll do is take out the Fibonacci's just to get a sense for, what was going on throughout the course of the day. The first move here, it was actually healthy, right? We're talking about the green solid-bodied candle here starting to consolidate into a bull flag, and then clearly there was some sort of breakout, but lots of volatility took it back lower, and ultimately into the end of the day, 100% retracement, right? So from that perspective, more bearish. The fact that, although it was looking solid, obviously it didn't hold up, right? So because of that, give a little bit of an edge here to the bears, the sellers essentially, and look for that downside target. But if we support here, then again, what would the play be? If we do something like this, boom, your target's right back to today's lows of day, the prior breakout from in here, around 1425, right around in here. So really, Dynavax is a one step at a time type chart based on what unfolded on today's session and the context of the overall daily pattern, right? We don't want to write off. I want to hammer this home. The fact that we are starting to form an ascending triangle. However, the daily structure here is fairly bearish. So I would watch for this, respect the triangle. Do we consolidate further and then eventually break out? Or is it just immediately going to take this out and start to get us into some of those lower targets? The real line in the sand would, of course, be the lowest of the lows here at 1260. So those are my thoughts as of, what I would be thinking about into tomorrow. It's all about the pivot here. It's all about this, 1425. And then from there, if we're above, fine. Your next step would be, okay, can we get a move back up to the high of the triangle here at 1518 breakout? Or if we can't hold the pivot here, watch out and reassess when and if we get to the support trend line, right? So those are my thoughts. That's going to wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it today or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description. And all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.